G'day geeks, Chris here, and I have just come back from Melbourne and I'm back home in Perth. I went over there with my good mate Ryan, the collector kid. We flew all the way to Melbourne for the monster size vintage and modern toy fair. We went to Lobos Collectables, went to Aaron's Collectibles, a few different places. Managed to meet a few fellow YouTubers that I've only interacted with online, so it was good to meet them face to face. There's a lot of content, a lot of stuff to show, a lot of toys that I picked up obviously. So this video will just focus on day one, on the Saturday, which will basically be us arriving in Melbourne and going at the biggest toy store in Australia, Lobos Collectibles. I've heard about it for so long, and this is my first time going and I was not disappointed. So I brought back some goodies. So let's look at the goodies I bought. So Ryan and I had been talking and saving up money for the vintage modern toy fair for many months, and we had the whole trip planned out, and it was good just to socialize with some fellow YouTubers, as I said. So we jumped on the plane on Friday night here in sunny Perth, and it was awesome. It was my first time on a plane actually in probably almost 10 years, so it's been a while, and as you can see, Ryan and I were very excited. And as we landed in Melbourne, the geekiness met us right at the doorstop, because there was a cool Lego toy store, and there was also a gashapon machine, so I got a little figure from there, and Ryan got a couple of things for his kids. And then we met up with a couple of fellow YouTubers, as I said, and we went to the markets, we grabbed a coffee. So I managed to meet for the first time after seeing their videos online. Managed to meet Dean and Sarah, as I said, from Totally Taylor. Scree from Scree Collects was there. Scott Crusher was there, and the two Barbarians as well, which was awesome to see. So yeah, a whole bunch of cool people just to hang out, walk around. Ryan and I were kind of very aware that it was cold in Melbourne, so we had our beanies and our scarves and 3 layers on. Coming from sunny Perth, we weren't used to that, but it was an awesome time just to spend the day with these people. The other guys had already been to Lobos, so we went the day after everybody else. Thankfully, they left some stuff behind for us to buy, and as soon as you walk in, it's quite overwhelming, but in a good way. And as you can see by my deer in the headlights expression, that's quite a common expression. I was talking to, I believe, Dennis, the owner, the guy who runs it, lovely fella, and he was saying that he can tell when people come from interstate, especially Perth, because they don't have a store like this in their state. And there's just stuff everywhere, and it's just fabulous to look at. We've got some awesome retro video games, and just stuff at the front counter. We've got a huge USS flag, and on the left we got some cool Aliens and Predator figures from Kenner, which is absolutely awesome to see, and Aliens versus Predator stuff. And there's just stuff packed everywhere, but it doesn't seem overwhelmingly packed. All the stuff is easily accessible, it's easy to find. Obviously all the cabinets are locked, so you have to go back and forth to say, can you unlock this, can you unlock that? They had some cool Millennium Falcon hanging from the ceiling, some cool vintage posters, some few arcade game machines, the comics, which I didn't spend too much time looking through, but the comics were pretty cool. Just a huge amount of back issues. I mean, if this was 10 or 15 years ago, I probably would have spent all my time going through the back issues, but now I'm all about the action figures. A lovely display just focused on the Phantom. It's very popular here in Australia. And then we've got some cool Toy Biz Marvel figures as well. We can see all the colourful characters. I didn't really grow up with the Toy Biz Marvel line, so I didn't really spend too much time on this cabinet. I tried to do my best filming, but I think I'll have to slow down next time because there's so much stuff to see. Myself and Scott Crusher did end up going back there again after the Vintage and Modern Toy Fair on the Sunday, and I picked up a few extra things as well, so I do have some more footage from the second day that I went. A couple of cool Batman and this wonderful Superpowers Hall of Justice, which in box, which just looks absolutely amazing. And the shelf that I was most excited for was the Kenner Superpowers stuff that we can see here. One of the things that Lobos is known for is making their own displays, and they've done that with the Fortress of Solitude there. I did ask about that Hawkman statue, but there wasn't a box with it, so we didn't bother about buying that, but we can see some VHS and some cool other things. So the whole cabinet dedicated to the wonderful Superpowers. They also have a massive Star Wars collection, which is pretty impressive. You'll see footage of the diorama in the second Lobos video. But yeah, just something loose figures, modern and vintage. Classic Ramsay Street from the Neighbours TV show here in Australia, very popular. And some lovely Star Trek and Doctor Who cabinets as well, for those who like sci-fi other than Star Wars. Some very cool 70s and 80s trading cards. E.T., Magnum PI, Battlestar Galactica, and so on. Welcome back, Cotter trading cards. Don't think I've ever seen those. A cool Star Trek bridge playset. And as I said, a whole bunch of more Doctor Who stuff. Ryan, he loves Doctor Who, but I think he had all of this stuff. Agro, Australian TV staple, huge Darth Vader, and some cool displays up the top there. A store like this, you always have to look around. So the stuff to the left, to the right, up, down, just look everywhere you go. Here I'm looking at some cool DC Direct figures based on the Alex Ross Justice comic series from a few years ago, and that was so much fun. But most of these figures I kind of already had in one form or another, so I didn't pick any of these up. Hush as well, classic, more modern Batman villain. We got Voltron, we got some Rambo, and Rocky, Gargoyles. We got some Super Mario Brothers, Inspector Gadget vehicle. You don't see that very often. I did have a bit of a look at the Voltron figures, but I didn't end up buying anything. Some carded Visionaries and some Supernaturals as well. So yes, as I said, everywhere you look, classic stuff from the 80s and 90s. It's kind of just a nostalgia wave, continues to hit you as you visit Lobos Collectibles. Some classic Kenner mask vehicles here. The vintage ones have really gone up in price, which is understandable because they're pretty awesome, but I'm just happy with the new Loyal Subjects remasters. And here's some A-Team as well from Galoob, I believe. The larger figures and the smaller ones. I did actually pick up an A-Team figure from the Vintage Modern Toy Fair, which I'm pretty happy with. Here's some more classic DC stuff, including a Batman Forever game. I'm a bit of a sucker for Batman Forever, the movie and the merchandise. So that was a cool audiobook kind of game. I didn't pick that up though. Carded Skeleton Warriors, don't see those often. And some more Batman Forever and Batman and Robin kind of stuff. And some cool Kenner DC things. Action Man, I didn't grow up with Action Man, but Action Man is pretty cool. A bit after my time, but nonetheless pretty cool to see those as well. Lobos had a pretty cool collection of Masters of the Universe classics as well. I've got a few Masters of the Universe classics. I've got Hordak, King Hiss. I've got a He-Man, and I think I might have Hydron from the New Adventures of He-Man. So I've got a few, but yeah, Masters of the Universe classics are a very well-regarded line, but I didn't really pick up any more. Braveheart, I didn't even realize there was a Braveheart figure, so that was nice to see. Some Hellboy stuff and a few other bits and pieces. Shrek, obviously the new movie is coming out. I love the kind of floor as well, the chess, the black and white squares on the floor, very distinctive for Lobos, which is pretty awesome. Here we've got kind of Big Trouble in Little China. I wish there was more merchandise for that. Die Hard as well, and a bit more of a Universal Monsters horror kind of display cabinets. And as I said, the cabinets are very well made. You can see all the price tags on everything, which is fabulous. They're all well lit, so it's not too difficult to see everything on display and what they cost. A lot of toy stores don't have that, so I'm very happy that everything's easily viewable. Some more Japanese kind of robots and stuff, the classic Lost in Space from the 60s, and some other stuff that I'm not overly familiar with, but yeah, there's certainly something for everybody. A cool Kit Kat display there, Battle of the Planets figure, and I can't remember that guy's name, but he's a classic Australian TV ad. This rear wall was just filled with kind of DC stuff mainly. We can see some Double Dragon figures, we've got movie stuff, we've got X-Men stuff. I like the little Action Masters, they're pretty cool, and some Batman the Animated Series, and some more stuff from Marvel as well, a few Batman Begins. Justice League Unlimited, what a great cartoon that was. So just keep going. Dino Riders, which have just shot up in value recently, but they are such an awesome vintage line. Hard to find complete, hard to find in box, but we've got a Brontosaurus, we've got a T-Rex, and we've got another T-Rex complete, I believe, and the smaller animals as well. So yes, expensive, but nonetheless pretty cool. And as I said, the display, the dioramas here, we have some Ice Age figures as well from the later on in the line, but Dino Riders is always good to look at. Some more of the modern Transformers, Godzilla stuff. Yeah, not stuff that I'm overly familiar with, but again, it's all good to see. And this is more of the modern kind of Transformers based on the movies and that kind of thing. And the vintage Transformers are on the other side of this cabinet. Astro Boy, Lost in Space, some more Kenner Centurions here. Not a whole bunch, but Centurions are pretty cool to see. The only one I have in my collection is the main bad guy there. Thundercats, I was pretty tempted by some of these Thundercats and Black Star figures, but again, I didn't pick any up. There's Ryan looking at the Mighty Max. He's got a pretty impressive collection of Mighty Max. And the last Starfighter figures, which actually Lobos made themselves, which is pretty cool. They are somewhat expensive, but understandably as it's a limited run. And we've got some more kind of 90s kind of stuff, I guess, plus some Indiana Jones. What have we got here? A whole bunch of Crash Dummies. I don't have any Crash Dummies figures. That was a bit after my childhood. The same with the Street Sharks and Extreme Dinosaurs. I don't have any Street Sharks or Extreme Dinosaurs. Yes, we've got Swamp Thing, we've got some Dragonflies, which I know Scree Collects is a big fan of, and some classic Dungeons and Dragons stuff as well, including the Fortress of Fangs, the playset, which again is very expensive, which I don't have and probably never will. Yeah, pretty awesome to see all of this stuff, just the variety. Here we're going back to some more Battlestar Galactica and Astro Boy. They had a good collection of Hasbro and LJN wrestlers. I've got most of mine from my childhood, but I was looking for Hillbilly Jim's hat, didn't have that. And Nikolai Volkov with his hat as well, but they didn't have that figure there either. I was tempted by this guy, the Big John Stud, but I didn't end up picking him up. But maybe another point in time I will. Had another look at their comic selection. As I said, their comics are pretty cool and they're well known for their large selection of back issues, and it's all organized very well and priced. So and not just kind of modern back issues, but stuff from the 70s and 80s and 90s and stuff, which is great. Mr. T, classic ad for Mr. T, and here we have the Masters of the Universe and Ishira kind of shelves. Cabinets, we've got some classic Motu merchandise, which is really shot up in value, toothbrushes and stamps and bags and that sort of thing. Classic vintage carded Motu, just awesome to see. Again, the price reflects that. I sent videos and photos of this Princess of Power and Gem and the Holograms cabinet to a friend of mine in Perth who collects, but he was like very impressed, but he has all of those, so he didn't want me to pick anything up for him. Again, we got the Spy Door and some complete, mostly vintage Masters of the Universe. Very tempted, but I did end up going back on the second day and grabbing the Roboto because it was complete with a good price. Inhumanoids, we've got a couple of the big monsters from Inhumanoids at the back. You don't see those very often. And of course, a couple of cabinets all about Ninja Turtles, which is understandable because there's so much Ninja Turtle merchandise, a lot of vintage stuff here. Battletoads, carded, loose. A lot of companies are making Ninja Turtles figures, so if you are a TMNT fan, you are certainly eating well these days. There are so many options for you. I didn't pick up any Ninja Turtles, but they've got all the play sets and stuff, as you can see. And yes, just something for everybody. Play sets, you got to look up because you see all these play sets like the Karate Kid Training Center and the Brave Star Fort Kerrium. Oh, wouldn't that be lovely to have? Just the box art alone is pretty awesome. I do have a almost complete Fort Kerrium loose. Some parts remained from my childhood and I've just been piecing it together over the years, but I'm not quite there to completing it yet. Here we have some more modern Marvel Legends from characters based on the movies and also the comics, which is good to see. Something for everybody. Just realised how many Marvel Legends figures there are. And here we have Simpsons. There's quite a lot of Simpsons stuff. Again, like Ninja Turtles, there are so many Simpsons merchandise, and most action figure companies have had their hand at making stuff for the Simpsons. They had a cool, nice Batman 89 cabinet or two. I didn't realise how much Batman 89 merchandise there was. Vintage and modern, again, a lot of merchandise and figures. Some carded stuff, trading cards, vehicles, a cereal box there. And yeah, it's pretty awesome to see all this Batman 89 stuff here on display. Here, this cabinet was mainly DC movie, TV stuff, and well as comics, and I did pick up some figures from this cabinet. Most of, well not most, but most of the ones I wanted I've already got here. But yeah, it was pretty awesome to see. So much display and so much variety, even obscure characters. I'm glad that McFarlane Toys and other companies are making them more obscure characters. And yeah, pretty awesome. I went back to the Inspector Gadget shelf just to have another look and another look at the Voltron. You always have to do a couple of laps just to make sure that you haven't missed anything. The Voltron Castle Lines, and again, another look at the Kenner Superpowers shelf. Some cool little Muppets which they have at the front, and some cool little Marvel statues as well, but I guess you have to be careful with traveling with those. Awesome trading cards, a lot of trading cards complete, which is cool, and some smaller Marvel figures and kind of the Eagle Moss kind of chess pieces as well. Planet of the Apes playset, little Superman cool display, and one last look at the whole shop in totality. And this is kind of, I think this might be at the front of the shop. I was looking for a Mego Spider-Man. I had a bit of a look in this shelf, but couldn't find it. They've also got I think this was a $5 dig bin. Right as you come in the entrance, you can have a look at this stuff. It's like Happy Meal toys and that kind of thing, but I didn't end up going through there. I could have probably given it a pretty more serious look, but it's just kind of flicking through to see what they had there. But it's nice that even if kids want to come in and spend their pocket money, they can pick something up from the dig bin. Vintage Transformers here, G1 and G2. Yeah, the prices are a bit higher than I was willing to pay, but Transformers are on a bit of a roll, and most of these were complete, and quite a few had their card backs, so that means the prices were higher. I did pick some up on the second day I went there. If you're a Star Wars fan, Lobos Collectibles is definitely the place to be. I wouldn't mind getting the Wampa, but I didn't pull the trigger on that one at the moment. I also wouldn't mind getting the larger vintage 12-inch Stormtrooper, but I don't recall seeing one there. But the other 12-inch figures I did see were a bit pricey, and just wasn't sure about travelling with that in the backpack. It'd take up a lot of space. I did spend a fair bit of time on the G.I. Joe shelf as well, and I did pick up a few of those. And as I said, Star Wars, they certainly have something. Power of the Force, and just vintage stuff, and they've got the more modern stuff as well. So every era of Star Wars is represented. More trading cards, a very impressive collection of trading cards, Simpsons figures and the hot comics at the moment displayed, and a $6 My Pet Monster and Muscle figures at the front, and a cool display. Here's Ryan looking at the USS flag. It was just very impressive, first time I've seen it in person. There's a couple of happy customers right there. I don't think Ryan actually ended up buying anything, but I made that up for the both of us because I got a fair bit of stuff from Lobos, but Ryan made up for it at the Vintage Modern Toy Fair. But we had a lovely time there. And I think it's about time I showed you what I bought. As I said, even straight at the airport, we were greeted by a couple of geeky things with the logo store and the gashapon machine. So this is the thing I got. There was quite a few cool things to choose from, but this is this little fella. I don't believe he's from an anime or anything like that, but he came in separate pieces and you just put him together. But pretty detailed. And he's got painted fingernails and painted toenails. Looks like a kind of steampunky kind of guy with a bit of a face mask and some glasses. So pretty interesting. There's a few different ones, but yeah, that's the one I got. Obviously they're like blind bags, so I'm not sure who this guy's from, but he might be an original creation. So there we go, there's the info, so I picked him up. One of the lovely things about meeting all the fellow content creators, although my channel is probably the smallest to be honest, just to inspire and encourage one another and talk about toys. There was a lot of kind of gift giving and swapping and trading going on, which is awesome to see. So I bought a few presents for some of the guys there. And Scree and Dean from Taylor Taylor, he actually got me a few stickers. So he gave Ryan and I and a few others some cool stickers and a little keychain, which is very nice of them. What a professional outfit they are. And he also gave me a couple of thumb wrestlers. So we got Randy Macho Man Savage. These are the old thumb wrestlers. And a knockoff thumb wrestler as well, I believe. So pretty cool, but their colours kind of match as well. So that was a nice surprise. So I was very thankful for Dean. So they will go well with the other thumb wrestlers that I have. Thanks, Dean. So what did I actually get from my first ever visit to the huge Lobos Collectibles toy store in Melbourne? Well, I tried to show some restraint unsuccessfully. We knew that the Vintage One Toy Fair was the next day. On the Sunday, we were at Lobos on Saturday, so we didn't want to blow our whole budget. But I did see some things that I couldn't resist, including this double pack of Kenner Superman Man of Steel action figures. So this is pretty cool. This is I had this as a kid, and the Battle Damage Superman is cool. Masker is a very obscure Superman villain, and I've got most of these. Well, yeah, most of these I have. I'm chasing the Chrome Steel, and I do have the Doomsday, but not the Hunter Prey. But yes, pretty cool. And I also do need the Superboy Cycle, I believe, as well. But I love these kind of double packs, the 90s stuff, very 90s, and I love the 90s era of Superman. So that was my first pickup from Lobos. Sticking with the theme, I've been trying to get all the carded Total Justice figures with the wonderful John Bogdanove, one of my favourite comic artists. Cover art on the card back there. This is the Hawkman, and the cheapest I've seen him, which is the Total Justice Hawkman. Again, another obscure 90s line. They came with all the accessories that you would put on them, and had a 3-issue tie-in comic as well, which I have. But most of these figures I have. I think I just need the Huntress and maybe the Superman and Batman variants, but most of these I have. I've been chasing the Hawkman one for ages. He's pretty hard to find, so as soon as I saw him at Lobos, I snapped him up. Sticking with DC, trying to complete my Kenner Superpowers line. I don't think I'll get all of them complete, but there were certainly the ones I had as a kid. So for $39, I had got a relatively clean Aquaman here. Doesn't come with this trident, but that's okay. There was one with the trident, but it was a bit bent and a bit more pricey. And his action features, I think, does work. His legs kind of swim. Let's see if I can make him work. He's going to make a liar out of me now, but yeah, you can see his legs kind of go like that. I mean, this is like a 40-year-old figure, but relatively clean Kenner Superpowers Aquaman. And also, I've got most, but not all of my Kenner Superpowers mini comics that the figures came with, so except these three. So I had a photo of the ones that I already have, so I knew that I needed Aquamans, Green Lanterns, and Firestorm, and these are just cool mini comics and had a nice display. And this was kind of my introduction. I guess like a lot of people, introduction to the world of comics, the world of DC superheroes as well. So I love, much like the vintage Master Universe, they included comics with the figures as well for a bit of story building, universe building, and a good way to get to know the characters. So 3 more mini comics from the Kenner Superpowers line. None of my vintage G.I. Joe figures survived my childhood, unfortunately, but Lobos came to the rescue. They had have a very impressive collection of vintage G.I. Joes. So this is G.I. Joe Hawk, so one of the good guys, and he is complete. So he's got his gun, his sidearm, his helmet there, and his backpack, and in pretty good shape as well. So these are the vintage O-ring style from Hasbro, and yes, pretty good shape. His legs are a little wobbly, but nothing too untoward. So yes, very nostalgic, very reminiscent. And then the other one I picked up was Lamprey. So Lamprey is the one that goes with the, he was packed in with the Cobra hydrofoil, the vehicle, which I do have. I'll make a video about that. So it was pretty cool. But again, he's complete just with his little cool gun. So he's silver and blue, and he comes with the stand as well, which is nice. But yes, and again, in very good condition. So I was very impressed with Lobos' selection of vintage G.I. Joe, and I did pick up some more at the Vintage Modern Toy Fair. So there we go, Hawk and Lamprey. The last thing I picked up from Lobos Collectibles was this freaky thing. So this is a vehicle creature I had as a kid. This is from the obscure Power Lords line from Revell in the 1980s. And this creature, whose name I forget, but he's missing the kind of canopy and his front leg is broken, so it's just held together with a bit of blue tack. But this is a very kind of obscure, weird line. Nacelle, I think, you bring in the back, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, it doesn't really have a whole bunch of articulation. Got a bit of a handle there and a bit of a snapping kind of claw there to snap at the bad guys or the good guys. But yes, a pretty weird kind of creature there, and obviously one of the action figures can fit inside. But this is one I had as a kid. It's a very memorable action figure vehicle creature playset weird thing. This is kind of what they all look like, the Power Lords line, kind of this gross kind of aesthetic. They stood out from the rest of the figures on the 80s. So there we go, that's all that I picked up from Lobos. It was definitely worth saving up our money for, definitely worth the travel. And yes, I'd love to go back there again, perhaps next year for the Vintage and Modern Toy Fair if we go again. So after there, we went to Aaron's Collectibles. So Aaron's Collectibles was also a store that had been recommended to us a few times. So Ryan and I went there, we jumped in an Uber and the lovely cold, wet Melbourne weather. And Aaron's had a special signing that day of Fraser Hines, one of the Doctor Who actors from back in the day. Ryan's a big Doctor Who fan, as I said. I'm not so much, but there was a bit of a queue, bit of a line waiting up for his signature. So normally they have an upstairs as well, which was closed today due to the signing, so we didn't get to see the upstairs, and it was a bit crowded inside the shop. So because of the signing, so I didn't get to take a huge look around, but I did take some footage, as you can see here. But I did pick up two things from Aaron's Collectibles. First thing I saw was these. This is a bunch of stickers from the Masters of the Universe Classics days. I can't remember how much it was, but it kind of looks good in display. I've got some of those clear display stands from Officeworks, so that'll just fit in nicely. So all the classic Masters of the Universe logos there. So stickers, which I probably will keep on the sheet here. So I got that, haven't seen that before, so that was pretty cool. Also from Aaron's, I got this. This is Cal from She-Ra, Princess of Power line. Again, I had him as a kid, and I've been looking out for him for a while as well. You don't see him pop up very often. Bit of movement on the head and the arms there, but basically his kind of gimmick is you flip open his chest and he's got red, yellow or green inside. So it's kind of like a magic 8-ball kind of thing, I guess, red, yellow or green. So there we go. So that's pretty cool. So he's kind of like She-Ra's version of Orko, I guess. Pretty cool. And as I said, I didn't really know Fraser Hines, who he was or whatever, but you know, it's cool that they do some signings, and they were giving away free signings with any purchase. So yeah, a lot of people were kind of saying that he looks a bit like Mark Hamill there, but this is from the younger days. He's like in his 80s now, I believe, so it's pretty awesome that he's able to do this signing. So I had a very brief conversation with him, and he signed that to Chris. So I think this may be one of the only signatures I actually have in my collection. So there we go. It'd be good to visit Aaron's another time when they weren't so busy, but pretty happy to get that stuff. After Aaron's Collectibles, we jumped in another Uber and we went to Comics R Us in the city, which I hadn't been to before, but I know that's quite a well-known comic shop in the city. And we ran into Simple Simon there, so definitely give him a follow. He puts out some great content. Ryan picked up a couple of Doctor Who comics. I picked up some Superman comics, which was awesome, just to kind of continue my collection. But they had a pretty cool display of modern comics, as well as back issues and some cool figures as well, mainly Motu and that kind of a thing. After Comics R Us, we went to the Chapel Street Bazaar, another place that we'd heard of and that was recommended. kind of this old vintage stall. You kind of see like a marketplace in a lot of different American YouTube channels that do toy hunting and stuff with different stalls owned by different people, I understand. So it wasn't massive, but it was a bit of a labyrinth in there. A lot of, you know, antique kind of stuff, and neither of us bought anything from there, even though they did have some toys and some comics, but nothing really remarkable. And then after all that walking around and Ubering around and shopping, all of us YouTube kind of people went out and hung out for dinner, which is awesome. So all of us interstate people kind of got together. I mean, there must have been like 20 of us. So there was all the usual suspects. And then I think Annoying Customer 77 was there, Gen X Kid was there, so the two Michaels. And it was good to kind of meet them. And there was a few other people that I just didn't get to speak to because it was such a big crowd. But it was an awesome time, just chatting and laughing and get to know each other beyond the hobby, which is pretty awesome. And there was talk of going out after that, but we knew that the Vintage Modern Toy Fair was going to take all of our energy out of us. It was a big day the following day, so we after dinner we all kind of went our separate ways and had an early night. But that's day one of Melbourne, so it was packed agenda going in Friday, landing on Friday, and then Saturday was just completely packed. Ryan and I going all over the place and meeting up with people and buying stuff, which is so cool. So that's day one. There'll be another video for day two. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Let me know if you've ever been to Aaron's or to Lobos Collectibles or the Vintage Modern Toy Fair. I'm hoping to go back again next year for sure. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.